Hello everyone, this is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Don't curse, speak English. Armstrong. Virtuous society. Armstrong. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong. Elevate your mind. Armstrong. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned into the most conservative of our brothers. Armstrong. The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
You know, we have been broadcasting since 1995. And I was just sitting here thinking over the historical archives of the different topics that we've discussed extensively. And I literally came to the conclusion today that we've never really talked about sex, which is can be an explosive topic for some. Now, imagine what the world would be like if people only had sex when they were married, only with their spouses. Now, I know some of you would say, well, what happens if your spouse dies? Well, you don't have sex again until you marry your next spouse. Imagine what would change in the world. Just contemplate that for a moment. If the world was centered around sex only with your spouse. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a very different kind of world. And of late, we have been reading and digesting so many stories about infidelity, unfaithfulness. There was a time when we thought about infidelity. The names that would come to mind would be John Edwards, former President Bill Clinton. You know, the list could actually go on. There's just so many cases of infidelity in the world. They're just too numerous to name. Sandra Bullock's husband. And it's amazing how if you don't handle sex in a responsible way, not just for adolescents and grown-ups, it can be very destructive and very painful. You know, I've known Dr. Dorree Lynn, and I got to just read some of the stuff on her book because she's our guest today, and obviously we're going to talk about sex. Sex so good that you won't believe you waited this long to enjoy it. Well, I don't think they waited long after all. Look at all the babies, unwanted pregnancies we have in the world. So I certainly don't think that's the problem. Tune so sex into turn-on sex. Yes, so many are turned on. They're confused, lost, can't find a job. They're obsessed. It's all they think about. They go to the porn site. They're so addicted to it. Reignite the passion in your long-term relationship. If you're reigniting your long-term relationship with just nothing but sex, it's not going to ever be long-term. Discover the joys of toys. Well, I'll leave that one alone. Enjoy sex despite illness and health problems. I think good sex can help your health, and I think that can help. And date and mate after 50. Well, after 50, you're not dead yet. I'd hope you date and mate until you die. But anyhow, let me welcome you to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and let me welcome back our co-host, David Modell. How you doing, David? Obviously, you're a sex expert. It's probably the most powerful, most potent, and most addictive drug in the world. It has made royalty lose their empires.
It's true.
It has made presidents of the United States buckle at their knees with women at their waist. And the list could just go on. It's just the truth. I mean, when you think about what it can do and what you're willing to give up in doing that, it is absolutely remarkable. And I do think it is high time that we have a discussion about sex. But the aspect of sex that really caught my attention was just the number of women that commit adultery now and unfaithful in their relationships. And they find it to be fun, they find it to be so satisfying, they find it to be fulfilling. Forget about the ethics, the ethos, the values, the respect that you want to have with your children and your spouse. I'm not going to say they're becoming like men because I think many of them were always this way. Why? What has changed?
A lot has changed, Armstrong. For one, the availability. Women are out in the workplace. They're no longer at home with children. And they are tempted very much the way men are. Women's lib did a lot of things that are good, but women's lib caused a lot of complications that the world is now catching up with. And so the very, very first major reason is availability.
Yeah, it's available. It will always be available. But what is it that a man can do for someone else's wife in the bedroom, in the hotel, or inside a car that a husband can't do? Is it the risque? I mean, it's sex. Wait a minute, David. Sex is sex. What are they getting?
No,
that's not available in their own household.
You know, if you look at it that way, that's a very good question. But if you look at it in the much broader...
Before we get to the much broader, though, answer it in that way.
What happens in today's society is very simple. People don't have the tools to know how to have a marriage. They don't have the tools to know how to communicate. They don't know how to even communicate in the bedroom. We are living in a fast-paced world, and people haven't caught up, evolutionarily speaking, with the world they're in. So they go looking for thrills and excitement, and morality in the way you posed it doesn't exist in today's society in America any longer.
So has sex become like technology? Is advancing what people are doing in the bedroom now? Are there some technical skills that we don't know about?
I wouldn't call it advancing. I would say that when we talk about sex, sex is more than penetration. Sex is communication. Sex is relationship. Sex is the connection that two people have. And it's the connection that two people have or now don't have that has brought the divorce rate and the rate of affairs to the peak that it's now in.
Well, you're implying... No, my brother,
I'll
you
just
got a
sit
whole
over here, my friend.
Listen, but you're implying that women, when they go and commit this act, are looking for a relationship. They're looking for more than just sex.
No, I'm not implying that, Armstrong.
Tell us.
What I'm saying is that it's what falters in the relationship that brings women, as it has always brought men, and I believe, by the way, that evolutionarily, men are not naturally monogamous. It's a choice that they make, and we can talk about that. But
are women naturally monogamous?
More monogamous than men, yes. And there's hundreds of studies, thousands that prove that, because women originally stayed at home and had children.
So men corrupt women and made them this way?
Absolutely not. Our society's changing.
Has corrupted them.
Has corrupted.
Hold this point.
And I wouldn't use the word corrupt.
And David is chomping at the bit.
My question is infidelity about sex.
And my answer is fundamentally it is not. Fundamentally, it's about a lack of communication in a relationship. Sex is the acting out of the breakdown of a relationship. And in today's society, we don't teach people how to have relationships. It isn't like 100 years ago where you grew up in a tight family and you saw relationships and you had a community and people didn't stray. There was a close-knit morality. This no longer exists.
Is that accurate? In other words, in today's day and age, is there more infidelity today than 100 years ago, or do we just know about it on a per capita basis?
There is more.
Really?
And one of the reasons there is more is there's more availability, and also there's more birth control.
Let me break this. Let me raise this with you.
And it's birth control that changed a lot of women
because
as
there's no repercussion, essentially, right? That repercussion.
That's correct.
Help me with this conversation, where you and David seem to concur that infidelity is not about sex. I find that hard to believe, because I'm going to tell you why. You know, since we talked about this a few weeks ago, I've been out asking questions. And I know women and men that cheat. It's none of my business, but they're still my friends. I don't judge them. They can talk to me. And I asked whether it was about the sex, and they will say, I'm having great sex. My husband is boring in bed. He falls asleep on me sometimes when we're in the act. I feel so humiliated.
Of course.
I want a man that can go all night. A woman this is what these women say. And I say to myself, I've been told that I'm boring. So I can relate to that. Because you know, some people are not as
You
high.
boring? Never.
Well, you haven't
boring
been
conversationally, or are you
Never.
revealing to us?
Well, you haven't been with me in the bedroom, so you wouldn't know.
Oh,
so
this is a family show.
But back to the part of the conversation, it is about girlfriends and guys compare their sexual conquest and their intimacy relationship. They compare notes.
But
So what is that about?
Who compares
Well,
those?
of
So, and they
course.
will tell you some. Does it have to? Do you really have to measure up? Is it really about pleasing your spouse in the bedroom? No matter what they're looking for, you need to go out and get that or become that in order to satisfy them.
You know, you sound like you're talking about a computer, and relationships are not computers. What happens is in the beginning of any relationship, your hormones kick in, your pheromones kick in, your brain is not between your ears, and sex happens, and you never have to think about it.
That's true.
Once you're in a relationship, and let's say you have children, and you have money problems, and you have household issues and job issues, communication breaks down unless you work at it. The minute communication breaks down, and the minute anger or resentment builds, it shows up in the bedroom. And the minute it shows up in the bedroom, then it's like a cycle. Then resentment and the relationship also begins to fall apart.
No, I actually think you were brilliant in what you just said. I think you're absolutely correct. And what's fascinating about what you're saying is that the hormones, the desire, the energy, the feeling, you just want to jump in that bed and just have hot sex. We'll be back. This is going to be interesting, isn't it? We're going to make it interesting.